This is Liberation Day in Iraq. Victory flags are being raised after the Prime Minister announced the final defeat of ISIS. The extremists have been driven from the last pocket of territory they still held, a stretch of ground along the Syrian border. Earlier, we spoke with journalist Rebecca Collard about the end of the fighting and what it means going forward.
This top Iraqi military commander today, he is saying that Iraq is completely liberated from ISIS fighters. Now, I think what you just said, what is the situation on the ground? That is a really good question. What the commander means by this is that they have cleared the territory that ISIS had controlled. So remember that ISIS at one point controlled 1/3 of Iraq's territory. That is a massive portion of the country. And that included, of course, Iraq's largest city, Mosul. They managed to kick ISIS out of that city earlier this year, and since then have been cleaning more areas, both in Anbar province and also in the north and near the Syrian border. So what this means now is that they've actually liberated all that territory. What it doesn't mean, John, is that all the ISIS fighters are gone. We know, of course, they have killed thousands and thousands of militants in these battles, but that doesn't mean that every member of the organization is gone, and it doesn't mean that we won't still see small pockets of resistance.
So let's talk about that in the future. Officially ISIS beaten, but what about the long term? How can it still remain a threat?
Exactly, and that's actually the fear of a lot of experts who follow Iraq, is that while they may now have actually defeated ISIS territorially, they've managed to take back all the territory the militants once controlled. That doesn't mean, as I said, that all the fighters are gone. And what the fear is that what we might see is more attacks on soft and civilian targets. So ambushes of checkpoints, attacks on markets, this sort of thing. Because in some ways, it may be just as dangerous for a lot of people in the country because there's no longer this front line. So ISIS fighters, those that remained in the country, were battling Iraqi security forces on these front lines in Mosul, in these other villages near the border. And now those front lines are gone, but many of those people still remain. And I think that there is an intention from ISIS, a will from ISIS and those that remain in the country to destabilize it, to keep Iraq not secure. They don't want to see the Iraqi prime minister and the government in Baghdad exert sovereignty over the whole country, and they don't want to see peace and security. So the fear is, as we move forward in the coming weeks and the coming months, we may see more attacks on soft targets.